Modern manga is in a great place right now. Nothing is off limits, and more eyes will come across your work today than at any other point in history. Being a creative, while still financially difficult, is now a viable career for anyone. And because there's so much creativity, you'll come across a lot of hidden gems. I'm so happy to have been recommended Geister, which has turned out to be one of my favorite ongoing manga at the moment. Geister, created by Takashi Yomoyama, is a stylish and fast-paced action supernatural manga with a diverse cast, great weapons, and horror elements taken right out of late 80s blockbusters. Confused? Yeah, so was I. But if you've ever watched Predator, Rambo, Die Hard, or even Hellraiser, you'll absolutely love this series. We open with our main character, Akira, who is a German high-ranking exorcist. He's placed on a mission to investigate some magical disturbances in Japan. Slowly, he starts to tie together all of these seemingly unrelated events, from other exorcists being butchered in the streets, to his missing teacher, even the origin of his mysterious powers. Very quickly, we're thrusted into battle and the plot. Now, I'm not usually one for stories that move at a breakneck speed, especially in the beginning, but Geister does it so well, you're never left wanting for things that have just passed. Akira shows off his impressive skill set from the jump, and this helps telegraph to the reader that this isn't going to be a typical shounen or seinen. If you enjoy manga where the main character needs to train in order to get stronger, then you're probably not going to like this manga that much. There's no power of friendship bullshit here, there's no training arcs, just a lot of action and violence. This style of writing was actually prevalent during the late 90s and early 2000s with action seinen. Establish how powerful the main character already is, so you can introduce the big bads faster and with more veracity. And that's exactly what happens in this manga. When Akira partners up with Chikagi, they quickly find themselves overmatched by a pair of enemies that reveal to the reader that nobody is safe in this world. The enemies and magical beasts are unique and have enough personality and motivation to keep you engaged. They're different enough from one another that when the author occasionally throws in a reference to IRL pop culture, it can either stand out very obviously and throw off the plot, or fit in so well with this world that it'll put a smile on your face. The art? So good. It's not the best thing that I've ever seen, but it's like reading a very detailed storyboard for a big budget action film. There are some battles that are so action-packed, I'm reminded of the over-the-top battles of early to mid-90s comics, like Wetworks, Youngblood, or Wildcats. It just looks fucking cool. And the battle styles shift every few chapters, so you get a sense of thrill and excitement with the adventurous tone that the author has set for the series. While on the topic of art, let me just say, the women in this manga are fucking beautiful. I'm a simp hard for these ink broads on paper. Holy hell. They just look great. Everyone is drawn appropriately for their culture and body figure, but the women just look nice. They aren't cutesy lollies. They aren't cartoon bombshells. They're just drawn very realistic. And there is ecchi here, but it isn't that bad. I didn't cringe that much. Now, the story is strange. There is a somewhat linear plot, but it has no obvious destination. We've gotten a couple flashbacks that last for like 4 to 6 chapters each, which do help the plot, but are placed in such shitty spots, so it absolutely destroys the pacing. There are points where you feel like you're reading a completely different manga and you aren't really sure who the characters are or what the current motive is. so that's definitely a weak point, and if you aren't a movie buff, you may find the literal hundreds of movie references throughout this manga to be a bit obnoxious. I will admit that there are times where you feel a character, or a whole chapter in fact, was made solely for the references. So, I don't know. That writing device has been around since the start of the series, and we're 70 chapters deep so far. So, overall, Ender Geister is a very fun, very fresh series. While it does have some confusing parts, and the story and world isn't overly developed, you still want to continue on this journey with these characters. You want to see the unique magic system that flawlessly merges with John Wick style gun fu. You want to experience a breakneck pace where you don't know if someone is going to lose an eye, arm, or get their whole head fucking blown off by a shotgun, point blank. You crave seeing elegantly drawn women that contribute to the plot while also being just as involved in all the carnage. This is such a fun manga, and I think anyone will enjoy it. Slight spoiler, one of my favorite villains over the last few years shows up in later chapters. Old Dragon. Just fucking wow. His presence in the series not only elevates several supporting characters and brings out the best in them thus far, but also adds so much depth to the world that I really wasn't expecting from this manga. His fighting style, backstory, and overall atmosphere that he brings reminds me so much of that old dude from Sakamoto days. Truly a work of art with that character design. Bravo, Yomoyama. If you're looking for something to fill that Chainsaw Man-shaped hole in your heart, Endergeister makes for a perfect read. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10.